That's Honorable Lonzi.
Yeah, this thing of boards, but let's wait for Friday, Chair, so that I can be well behaved today. Thank you very much, CEO. I just want to quickly go back to this issue of the AGSA because I want us to have it on record. We hold the AGSA in quite high regard as South Africans. We know that it has gone through a very difficult period, but we believe that over the past years, there was some form of stability, and it does a reasonably good job. Now, we become very worried, CEO, when you say to us, the Auditor General South Africa gave you an outcome, and then you received a phone call from a senior manager on a random Sunday, who's then said to you, the outcome has been reversed. Then we put that question to a representative in this meeting from Auditor General South Africa. Yes, he may not necessarily be the exact auditor, but he then says on good authority that actually on the same year, I heard that because we thought Memaseko were dealing with different years. He says on the actual same year and opinion, according to him and the information that he has so far, that did not happen. The outcome was not reversed. So I just have very pointed questions for you, CEO, so that we can, when we follow up on this matter, we can have the right. The first question is, who is this senior manager that called and said the Auditor General outcome has been reversed? The second question is, when the AGSA communicates an outcome with the entity, how does it do that? Does it do it by phone call? Does it do it by email? Does it do it by WhatsApp text message? Now, I'm not trying to be facetious. The reason I'm making this point is that if there was a formal communication about the outcome of AGSA to the entity, and then the entity then says, I received a phone call from a senior manager who said it's been reversed, that would be extremely problematic. One would then expect the entity to say, in the same formal and official platform that AGSA uses to communicate the first outcome, that's where they must communicate the reversal. So if you can just quickly answer those questions. You don't have to explain the process, just those pointed questions, CEO, so that when we follow through the chair of the committee, follow up on this thing, we're able to, because it means between the entity and the AGSA, there's a problem. I'm not saying it's you, could be the AGSA, could be you, but we must get to the bottom of it because, as I said, we hold the AGSA to very high regard in South Africa. Thanks, you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lonzi. I think the first question was, or is, how do you communicate with Auditor General SA? I can provide minutes of the board wherein the board approved a qualified audit opinion. I was trying to go through my phone to check because I know it was a Friday that day.
So sorry, CEO, with respect, I don't want to cut you. I don't want us to speak past each other.
Yeah.
I got you when you said the board approved the outcome. That one I don't have a problem. That's your process.
Yeah.
I think the question I'm asking is, how does AGSA communicate an outcome with you? And the reason I'm asking how do they communicate is because you are saying to us on Sunday, you guys received a phone call. That's why I even made the joke about WhatsApp. Do they send it on WhatsApp? Do they do email? You receive the phone call and the phone call says the Auditor General has reversed the outcome. Now, if the AGSA has a formal way of communicating an outcome with the board, I would find it extremely problematic that the board will not go back to that formal process, but the board will simply rely on a phone call on a random Sunday afternoon from a senior manager whose name we don't know. So maybe share the name of the senior manager as well, CEO.
Okay. No, thanks, Honorable Lonzi. I think the part that you are missing is that the chairperson of the board received a phone call that Sunday, and he called me that Sunday to say that there's reversal of audit opinion. And that Monday in the morning, there was a special board because you can't process that reversal without a formal board. And the senior manager's name then was Nana, what's his name? Shai. And the communication ended up coming obviously in writing, which was processed for that special board that happened on a Monday. So in short, Friday, qualified audit opinion, Sunday, phone call, we call a special board Monday, and then we receive the communication thereof.
No, thanks. I think that's what I wanted to check, CEO, to say that you did not rely on a phone call that the outcome was reversed. You are saying to us on record that AGSA communicated with you formally that firstly, you've got a qualified audit outcome on Friday, then you receive a phone call on Sunday, and then they send you a communication formally on Monday saying we've reversed what we sent you on Friday. That's what you're saying to us. All right. Thanks, you. We'll follow up through the chair on how that happens, because I think it's extremely problematic. The other question I want to ask, and this is related to the gap that we have between the accounting authority, because I think, as far as I last read the act, is that even you as your term of office is partially in line with the term of office of the accounting authority, and then I think you've got a leeway of about 6 months or so. Now, obviously, now that is going to be impacted because we've got no accounting authority. I know we don't use it interchangeably, but the boards are not there. I want to ask this because in part of the investigations which took place, one of the biggest problems we had there was that there were grants which were allocated without approval of the accounting authorities. Now, I've got two questions. The first question is, was there ever a grant under your leadership which was approved without the permission of the accounting authority? Maybe let me start with that question. It could just be a yes or no.
No, sir.
Thank you, CEO. Now, we don't have an accounting authority, and there are very important things that you even informed us that need to be signed. And yes, you said 7 March, they did sign a lot of them. I want to check if the accounting authority is not appointed by the ministry or the department, at least in the next 2 months or so, are you going to be forced, or rather, are you going to be under a risk of having to process certain things in the absence of an accounting authority? Or do you think you can survive the next 3 months without an accounting authority?
Thank you very much. I need to be honest to say that as much as I received a letter last night, but it doesn't augur well from a professional point of view that I sit and chair an EXCO. Like in my case, we had an EXCO to process annual financial statements, annual performance report, including the internal audit report. And then tomorrow we are sitting with an independent, not a fully constituted, it's only independent members of the audit and risk. And then Saturday, I must sign off the same financial that I was in, recommending to act and also be part of the signing of period. So for me, that's what I was saying to my executive, that I'm struggling to remove myself, but it is where we are. Then in terms of projects, Honorable, I've been in the sector for more than 20 years. I think I'm the only CEO who started at lower levels and is a CEO in the CETA space, which I'm a product of this sector.
No, it's not true. There are others.
Oh, okay. So the long and short is we are able to preempt. So what we did already last year, which is what we've been doing for the past 3 years, if you want to report on the first quarter, you must go to the market early. So the board of November approved the adverts for 25-26. And the board of March approved the actual allocations to the municipalities. Therefore, for the first month or two, if there's no significant challenges, because municipalities can say we'll take 1,000 learners, but you find that they take 500, then you must go back again and.
No, I don't want to disrespect you, CEO. I don't have much time. I just wanted to find out if you'll survive. And you are essentially saying you will be, at least.
LGC will survive.
Yeah. The last point then I want to make through you, sorry, Chair, I know my time is limited, is that part of the irregularities which were found in the forensic report is that you've got people who sit in BEC, the same people sit in BAC, the same people sit in BSC. And that's a very bad corporate governance practice. And I think you raised it here as well to say these people are not, you can't, and it's essentially what you just explained to us, that you're uneasy because the ministry is asking you to preside and even approve processes that you participated on in a much lower level. And you've got that letter, you're saying you've been given it. But the forensic report already told you that if we follow corporate governance, you can't sit in PAC and then sit in PEC and then sit in PSC. There's a huge conflict that takes place there. Now, are you saying to us, CEO, and I don't want you to get into trouble because maybe you'll want the minister to appoint you as a CEO again or whatever, I don't know. But essentially what the minister is asking you to do in that letter is going to be extremely problematic when we consider the principles of corporate governance. Do you agree with me, CEO?
I would argue differently because there's a supreme law called PFMA that clearly empowers an accounting officer in the absence. I mean, I can check because I've got a picture of the letter. What section empowers the accounting officer in the absence? 49.2. In the absence of a controlling body. That's on paper. And secondly, we choose to be CEOs, and we know that things will not always be the same way. But from a legislation point of view, there's no, I don't know how to put it, but I don't see any legal shortcomings in terms of the process. But personally, I had to struggle to say, how do I put this? Where do I put checks and balances? From a personal point of view, not from operating in the city environment. And that's why we've brought independent audit and risk members to make inputs in the submissions, and then we should be good to go.
Last one, parting short, Chair. So you are your own accounting authority?
The local government sector, because remember I'm defined by a sector. I serve the sector, not the organization called LGC. The LGC is a panacea for empowering local government.
Maybe not run away from this question, CEO. In as far as the letter of the minister is concerned, the minister is asking you to perform certain functions which are supposed to be performed by an accounting authority. An accounting authority that you must report to as the CEO.
Maybe I need to also qualify that other aspects of the letter, the minister is very clear that when the accounting authority comes in, I must take them through each and every decision that I may have taken in the absence of the accounting authority. So I must not just give certain aspects of the letter. There's also that emphasis to say that when the new accounting authority is appointed, just make sure that you take them through each and every decision. And maybe to help you, Honorable Lonzi, we do have a company secretariat and a in-house legal department. And all of these decisions are separate from the office of the CEO in terms of administration. So we'll make sure that the resolutions that are taken should be documented by the company secretariat within the parameters of the law. But like I'm saying with LGC, for the next 2 months, 3 months, we are good to go. And I'm very fortunate that I'm the CEO who started last in January when others started in September and so forth. So I do have a contract until the 31st of December 2025.
Not a question, Chair, just a joke. This scenario reminds me of a premier and a chairperson in the Northwest. A chairperson of an organization, rather a premier of an organization, wrote to the chairperson of the organization saying that I would like to tender my resignation. And then the chairperson of the organization, who also happens to be the premier, in his capacity as the chairperson of the organization, rejected the resignation. So I think, and you are from the Northwest. No, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, I know Honorable Lonzi ended up on a lighter note, but I think the point that he's making as CEO is that even though you do have a company secretary and a legal person in the board, they can approve. It's not them who will be able to sign the annual financial statement. It will be yourself with the powers vested in you by the minister following the PFMA and the concurrence from National Treasury, that 49.2 issue. The point is making, in which I hope you'll make to the minister, is that this, so in essence, what this means is that the sitters for this period are under administration. And because the same person who is an accounting authority or accounting officer is now been given an extended powers to do accounting authority work. So this is the point that Honorable Lonzi is making. We must make that point, Honorable Lonzi and members, to the minister. That it creates a corporate governance problem. We have, my views are on record, that I don't like administration because absolute power absolutely corrupts. Because if I am approving, I mean, the CEO puts it right, says, my conscience on this thing is a bit challenged because I met with EXCO and approved the annual financial statement. That must go to the accounting authority. And when they get there, it's me who's going to approve and sign off. The same process. I'm sure even the AG will raise some concerns on that because it does not make a good reading. And it's a point department we must take very serious. We'll raise it again with the minister and the DG on Friday when we meet about the whole issues of the sitters. At this point, Honorable Lonzi, because there's no board and there's no board chairs, the only other viable option legally the department or the ministry had was to was to delegate the powers to the DG for 21 sitters. It was not going to work. So I can tell you, if she had said the DG must be an accounting authority of 21 sitters, it would have been worse. So this, on the face of it now, it was the best possible. It's not ideal, it's not what we want. But given the situation where it was the best possible thing to do, to give the management to run these things, even though personally I have a serious problem with administration. I've not seen one successful administration period. Myself personally, I have a serious problem, and I'm not saying I'm not going to support administration where the current leadership fails to do things right. But I generally have a problem with administration, and what we are seeing here, we've got now 21 sitters from yesterday. You said we received the letter yesterday. Essentially from the 1st of April, we had sitters under administration, even though they did not have a letter. Now they have a letter. We don't know until when. So we'll also put it to the minister to put time frames on this particular. When will we stabilize these particular issues? The DG must also come, because I know when they had appointed the NSFAS board, he was boasting here in front of us. See, we want stability. And we're putting board stability. And Honorable Lonzi asked them, how far are you in appointing ministerial appointees to universities? It became as if he's got flu. The voice vanished at the Honorable Younger. Or before, I think Honorable Lonzi must also say, I think maybe you are not declared. I think you've got businesses. You know the way you differentiate between the three committees, the specifications committee, the adjudication. You know the way you move there. I suspect you might be running a small company.